My best friend left me at a rest stop off the highway at 1 a.m. because I told her the truth about herself. She drove off while I was in the bathroom. I came out and the parking spot was empty, and my suitcase was in a pile on the curb. Maren and I had been friends since 6th grade, 20 years. She was the first person I called when anything happened, good or bad, and for most of my life she was worth calling. But Maren had a thing about our friend Cole, and that thing had been rotting underneath our entire friend group for as long as I could remember. Cole was our person. The four of us, me, Maren, Cole, and Eli, grew up together. Same neighborhood, same lunch table, same graduation party in Cole's backyard. But Maren treated her friendship with Cole like a competition only she was playing. If Cole mentioned a weekend plan with me, Maren would book him for the same day. If Cole brought a girl around, Maren would pick her apart until the girl stopped coming. She wasn't subtle about it either. She'd say things like, he tells me things he doesn't tell anyone else, like she was holding a trophy. For 20 years I let it slide, because confrontation gives me hives, and because Maren was there for me, through my parents' divorce, through my worst breakup, through my brother's accident. She had earned a long leash. Cole got married last month. Beautiful ceremony. Small town church. Maren and I drove together because we lived in the same city now, 4 hours from home. Shared a hotel room. Split the gas. Everything was fine until it wasn't. At the reception, Maren started. She told a table full of people I wouldn't even know Cole if it weren't for her introducing us. That wasn't true. We met in gym class in 7th grade. Maren transferred in the following year, but I didn't correct her because it was Cole's wedding and I didn't want to make a scene. Back at the hotel, she was fuming. She said Cole didn't spend enough time with her at his own reception. She said, no offense to you or Eli, but out of all of us, he should have at least made time for me. I asked why she specifically deserved more time than the rest of us. She said, because he asked me to help pick the engagement ring. I said, Maren, it's his wedding. He spent time with his wife. She said, you wouldn't understand. What Cole and I have is different. Something inside me that had been bending for 20 years finally snapped clean. I said, the only thing different is that you've been in love with him since high school, and you've punished every woman who got close to him because of it. Her face went white, then red. She grabbed her keys in her bag and walked out. I heard the engine start. I ran to the window and watched her pull out of the parking lot without her headlights on. She was gone. My phone, my wallet, my suitcase, all in her car. I was standing in a hotel room 4 hours from home, with nothing but the dress I was wearing, and the room key in my hand. I used the hotel phone to call the front desk. They let me use their computer. I couldn't rent a car because I only had a debit card. I couldn't take a bus, because none ran until morning, and the route would have taken 11 hours. I booked the only same-day flight I could find. $800 on a card I'd sworn I'd never use again after digging myself out of debt in my 20s. I sat in the airport at 5 a.m., in a wedding guest dress, and no luggage, and the woman at the gate looked at me and said, rough night? I laughed, because it was either that or scream. I texted Mern from the gate. I wasn't kind. I won't pretend I was. I sent her a Venmo request for $800 and a message that said things I'd been thinking for a decade. She didn't respond. For a month. Radio silence. When we finally talked, I apologized for what I said about her being in love with Cole. I told her it was cruel, and I shouldn't have said it at someone else's wedding. She started crying. She asked if we could just go back to how things were. I said, how things were is why we're here. She never acknowledged leaving me stranded. Not once. Not in the call. Not after. I brought it up directly, and she just kept circling back to her hurt feelings. She talked about herself for 45 minutes and didn't ask me once how I got home, or what it cost, or whether I was scared standing alone in that parking lot at 1 a.m. in a dress and heels with no phone. That's when I knew. 20 years of friendship, and she couldn't say sorry for abandoning me on a highway, because her ego mattered more than my safety. She'd rather lose me than admit what she did. So I let her. The month we didn't talk was the most peaceful month I'd had in years. Cole called me last week. He said Maren had been texting him about the situation. He said, she told me you were jealous of her relationship with me. I said, Cole, I've never once competed with her over you. He said, I know. That's why I'm calling you, and not her. I still have the Venmo request sitting there, unpaid. I told her I don't expect the money, but I left the request up, because every time I see it, it reminds me that I finally said the thing I should have said at 15, and the only thing it cost me was a friendship that was already empty. $800 in 20 years. One of those I'll earn back.